as we think about where we are right now in the playoffs. We're at the region final. Some excellent games last week, very, very tight. Several of them decided in the last drive, if not the last play of the game. So we're going to take a look at some of that action. We have fewer clips for you tonight. That's on purpose. We're going to have this very focused. There are some reminders there in terms of mechanics and communication. And then we're going to say all the best and sign off for the evening. So, as we've done the last couple of weeks, we're going to start with Bob Voss, who's going to deal with the kicking game. So, Bob, take it away.
So we have a unusual play in that it's fourth and goal from the 35. The offense lines up as if they're going to run a scrimmage play as opposed to punting the ball from this spot on the field. In a 7-0 game, we really don't know what they're going to run, whether they're going to run a play or if they're going to kick. But the quarterback steps back quickly, kind of hints to us that he's going to kick it, and then certainly he does. Back judge does a really good job here. He starts on the goal line, and then as the ball gets to him, he stays on the goal line and just moves laterally so that he has a good position on whether that ball gets into or when that ball gets into the end zone for a touchback. Pretty good movement in anticipation for a play where we don't know what it's going to be before they snap it. Next play is a kickoff. We just want to kind of talk about basic mechanics here. After the kicking team players pass us, we want to have the back judge and umpire move onto the field. We've talked about that in past weeks. Initially, we're going to be looking at the first wave of the blocking for the back judge and umpire. That's usually in between the 30 and 40-yard line. In this case, it's right about the 35-yard line. Have a little bit of interaction between those players, and this play quickly turns into a long return. Umpire does a good job of watching the blocking, but staying out of the way, letting the players pass. And on the other side of the field, we see that the back judge gets to the goal line. Might be better to squeeze in a little bit closer at this point if we can, but certainly getting to the goal line is our primary responsibility. I want to point out too, if see where you're at, if you can stop it right, let it run a little bit, Gregor, right here, stop it right there. And we notice too that the line of scrimmage is hustling along the sideline. He's going to encounter a player just a little bit further up, Gregor. Number 22 right here at about the 35-yard line. He's a kicking team player. That's not somebody who has come off the sideline to get in his way. So he does a good job of avoiding him and not having a flag for a player who is interfering with him because he's a player who's on the field, just happened to blow into the white, and it's perfectly reasonable. He's going to have to rule on whether that player has stepped out of bounds. That's a long way to look, but sometimes that's what we have to do. And there's going to need to be some communication with that back judge, who will have an idea whether that ball crossed the goal line, but he'll certainly have no idea whether that player stepped out of bounds. So communication between the wing and the back judge on that long return is going to be extremely important. There's another punt, and this one, the gunners are more in the middle of the field than wide. So the umpire is going to have a look at that. This is going to be a really long look for, if you can pause it right here. There's kind of, or if you can go back just a little bit, going to be action right around the umpire. I don't think that there's any foul there, but for the line of scrimmage officials to be looking toward the middle of the field early and then get back outside with where our eyes are. And then the back judge, of course, starts in the middle, but most of the action is so far away from his receiver that he's going to catch up to the blocking in the middle of the field after the receiver already takes possession of the ball. I'm going to let it run here for a second. We're going to look at a block that is right around the 35-yard line. I think it is right here, 32-yard line, about the hash. We can back up just a little bit. It's a suspect blindside block. That's something that we're going to have the make sure the back judge gets his eyes to, not watching the receiver, but watching the blocking that is up in front of him. Looks like a pretty legal block. I think that the blocker probably gets his hands out in front of him, so there's no foul there. But that's in the area that our back judge is going to want to have his eyes. Yep, this one. Actually, I'm not sure if this is a field goal or an extra point, but the concept is the same. Right at the beginning, if we can go right before the snap, Gregor. And would be the right tackle for the offense. The defensive player is going to grab him and pull him out of the way so that the defensive linebacker can shoot through that gap. This pull and shoot hold is really difficult in a five-man crew. So we're talking about transition, on the kickoff, we're talking about transition of our eyes during the punt. Similar concept here, especially for our back judge and umpire. We don't have the 7-man extra bodies to watch that kind of stuff. So if at the snap we can put eyes on that blocking, our umpire or back judge might be able to see this hold. You can see number 60 pulls that lineman out of the way, and his partner can shoot through the gap. He doesn't block the kick, but that doesn't make it not a foul. Very difficult, but if it's on your radar, you might catch it at some point if it happens in your game. See it pretty clearly from the end zone. Over there, number 60 on the left.
Excuse me, Bob, this is an opportunity, if you do your scouting properly, to notice something that you can be alert to. Now, in this particular case, the blue team lost this game, so they are out. But had they won, this is a matter that we wouldn't address with the coach because we're not going to indicate that we observed a foul. What we're going to do is we're going to observe that this is a situation that, if repeated, either is going to be a warning if the shooter doesn't get through, or is going to be a foul, as is the case here if he does.
Oh, similar action. He obviously did this more than once in the game. With any luck, if we thought we saw it on the first play, maybe we would catch it on the second play, but really the same action, same player. So either he's figured this out on his own with his linebacker partner, or they're being coached. If he's continuing to do it and it was successful the first time, so they're going to try it again. All right, play 104. We have a punt. We want to let these, want to make sure that our line of scrimmage officials are going to clear that we have a good snap and get our eyes to that first wave of players coming down. In this case, it's a short kick. I'm going to skip you around a little bit on this one, if you don't mind, Gregor. Go to the end zone view. We can see that the back judge is going to come into view here pretty soon. He's going to be just a little bit to the right. And go ahead and allow this punt returner to move up, but we don't have to be in a hurry to rush up. He's doing a good job here of keeping eyes on the player. He will be able to clearly see that this ball hit the return team player, number 35, around that 45-yard line or so. His line of scrimmage partner is coming quickly. So again, he doesn't have to rush in. We don't need all 5 of us around that pile, somebody to dig for the ball, and then somebody to keep an eye on players for any dead ball fouls or personal fouls away from the action. If we go back to the sideline again, our line of scrimmage official who's on the bottom is moving downfield, doing a real good job. And then he might see that this ball has hit the return team player, also squares off on the sideline and then hustles in to dig for the ball and kills the clock. Pretty good mechanics, pretty good job of officiating. It's a little bit unusual play with the short kick that hits somebody who the coaches are kicking themselves that he didn't hear anybody yell, "Get away." Certainly they were. Next play again is another punt. This one's going to be blocked, and our official at the top of the screen would normally leave right after the snap, but in this case, kind of worked out in our favor that he didn't leave the line of scrimmage, because the ball is going to be touched by the receiving team probably just beyond the line of scrimmage, just beyond the neutral zone. Hard to tell from this angle for sure, but at the very least, we need to keep one official at the line of scrimmage until the ball crosses, and he's going to be primary for knowing who touches this ball and where. If the ball is touched by the receiving team beyond the neutral zone, either team can then pick it up. I'm sorry, either team can then recover it legally if he touches it beyond the neutral zone. Next play is 62. We're going to get a long field goal. This is Jake Moody kind of range. Want to just mention real quick, if we had that pull and shoot block on this play, I don't think the back judge and umpire would stand a chance to get a hold being 40 yards away from it. But in this case, that's not the issue. Just remember that this is a scrimmage kick, and as soon as it crosses the goal line, it's going to be dead. Excellent recognition by the 2 officials under here. Kill the clock is just fine. This is a touchback in this case, so either signal will work for us. But if we're going to kill the clock, we need to give the touchback signal right away afterwards.
Bob, please address the situation where, say, either the kick is really short or is partially blocked, it goes beyond the line and say stops at the 2-yard line.
Well, so that will essentially be a punt. It's a scrimmage kick, and it is returnable as a field goal. If it's a extra point, it's dead as soon as it's not scored, but or not possible to score. But in this case, with it being a field goal, we treat it the same as we would treat a punt. If it doesn't reach the goal line, this ball can be returned if they so desire. If they don't touch it, then it's going to be dead. It will belong to the receiving team wherever the ball ends up. So in other words, if it's just dead at the 5-yard line and nobody touches it, that's where the ball is going to be placed. If it goes into the end zone, different story, then we have a touchback. But the receiving team can return this field goal, and we need to be prepared to cover for a long kick. So they're certainly going to get a bit of a head start before they come across any kicking team players who are trying to tackle them. Are we on play 58? Another fourth down play that's lined up as a standard scrimmage play. Quarterback quickly steps back and then kicks it. Back judge gets surprised a little bit, but what he does do really well is just continue to work to the goal line and make sure that he stays deeper than the ball. And then when they finally touch it, he puts his bag down. I kind of got a chuckle out of that one when the player tosses him the ball, he just bats it away. I think it's okay if we catch it there, but he does a good job of staying deep, even though it was not necessarily an anticipated punt.
Well, in that situation, time scoring situation dictates that the entire crew, but particularly the back judge, has awareness that this might be the result. When it's fourth down and they're on the negative side of the 50, and we had one earlier where it was on the plus 35. So we always have to be aware that this could be the outcome. So we should not be surprised, just like with free kicks, we should not be surprised when they're short.
This is where we have 118. Whoops, my note. Now here's a rare one that the punt actually goes over the receiver's head. Now we had one just a little bit earlier where it was short. In this case, again, the back judge does a good job of not coming forward when the receiver does. The receiver is acting as if he's going to catch the ball and lets it go over his head. There's no reason for back judges to rush up. And we get a good job here of staying back and covering the ball and covering the play from the back judge here. We don't have a lot of kickers that get the ball over the receiver's head. Typically, it's the other way around. This is a good reminder that it can happen once in a while, and certainly, something that I've heard mentioned on these Monday meetings plenty of times. If we do a little bit of scouting, we might know if we're going to have that punter this week who has that ability. Gotta go back. And last play, it's really unusual. I'm not sure if this was intended as an onside kick or if the kicker mishit the ball and it worked out in his favor. But he ends up just blasting the ball off of one of the players in the front row for the receiving team, who is more than 10 yards. And the ball then becomes live for either team to recover. Really good job by the back judge and the umpire to hold still and recognize that this has turned into a wild play. And then they can come in and try to figure out who has the ball. If you pause it right here, actually, we're going to go back just a couple of frames before our umpire moves onto the field, Gregor. Right, just a couple frame by frame if we can. Right here, you see that the umpire is putting a beanbag down. Really what we want to do is beanbag illegal touch, I'm sorry, first touching if it's inside the neutral zone. With this legal touching, we would prefer to wind the clock, before the ball is kicked. Two things that are good to have in your head are what's going to happen if we have an onside kick. First of all, we're going to stand still, officiate the play without having to move, but know that we're going to have a beanbag in your hand and know that you're going to put a bag down if it's first touched by the kicking team, and then wind the clock if either team touches the ball legally. In this case, that's exactly what we get. We do get, oddly enough, if you go ahead and run it, nobody has wound the clock here, but that clock operator must be really good because we can see that he knew that this clock was supposed to run and went ahead and did it. And then both the back judge and umpire are killing the clock appropriately. So their heads are in the right place. The beanbag is down. Beanbag isn't what's going to be best. That we'd like to wind the clock, but get in here and find out who has the ball. And don't be surprised by a surprise onside kick, even if it wasn't necessarily intended as an onside kick. He might have intended to squib this one hard and just kicked it in a perfect spot to work in their favor, depending on who recovered it, I guess. Not sure. Oh, well, we have the receiving team recovered it, so it backfired on them. But it was different. Anything to add on that one, Rich?
No, you hit the key points. We needed a wind to the clock, and the the clock operator wound the clock, started the clock, even though we didn't do it on the field. If the clock operator had not wound the clock at the end of this play and we look up and we still have 12 minutes on the board, then the appropriate thing to do would be for the referee to announce that the game clock should have started and to reset the game clock to 11:55 or whatever would be appropriate under the circumstances.
Yeah, we don't want to leave that at 12. That is the last of the kicking plays, Rich.
Thank you, Bob. Gregor, if you'll go to the scrimmage plays, starting with West Michigan, please. This first play is going to be from punt formation. So the question may be, well, why didn't you have Bob talk about that? Well, because this is a nice transition between scrimmage kicks and scrimmage plays. And what we're going to get here is a fake kick. They're going to run out of this formation, or there was an option to do so. Now, again, it doesn't work out for Team A. The defense was prepared for it, knocked it away. Now, when we have a trick play, such as what we have here, the scrutiny for plays like this is at its highest level. So the line of scrimmage people have to transition their thinking from what they're anticipating in terms of having a scrimmage kick to a regular play from scrimmage. So we have issues with making sure that ineligible linemen do not go downfield, that in the case where the pass crosses the line of scrimmage, perhaps it would be possible for a player to block before eligible to do so. So we have to transition from a kicking play to a regular play from scrimmage and officiate the play in this particular case as a regular scrimmage play. We're going to look at a couple of catch, no catch situations. And while we're getting to those, just want to remind you the process of the catch is incredibly important. Firm control. In this case, because he's going to the ground, he has to survive the ground. And even though the video is not great, what you're going to see is he goes up, he has firm control. It appears that he gets a body part down and then is hit at the sideline by a defender, and you're going to see the ball come out. Now, my suspicion is that the short wing perhaps was screened by the substitutes out of bounds and didn't see the ball come loose. Certainly the back judge should see this ball come loose. And in the event where it's clear that the short wing does not, the back judge needs to come over and provide information and, if necessary, overrule this and make it an incomplete pass. Right now here, this is obviously a different catch, no catch situation involving an interception, but the concept is the same. We've got to make sure that In this particular case, hands are under the ball, which it appears they were. And because he's going to the ground, he must survive the ground. Just a reminder, if we don't have a player going to the ground, then we bring a third component, a third piece to the catching process, that being able to perform an act common to the game. So something to think about and talk about within your crew. Remember, like intentional grounding, catch, no catch is a crew call. And many times the official that has the best look by angle is not necessarily the official that is closest by proximity. Something to keep in mind. All right, clip 131. We think about the goal line mechanics primarily when we're going in. We know that for a touchdown to be scored, only the tip of the ball needs to break the front plane of the goal line. Conversely, when we're coming out, for this to be out of the end zone, the entire football must be out in the field of play. Now, we can't tell for sure exactly where the ball is at the time that this player has a body part down. It certainly is debatable in terms of whether the forward progress spot is in the field of play or whether he is actually down prior to the time that the entire ball is out in the field of play. So just a reminder, when you're talking about matters involving the goal line, that it works in reverse as well as going in. Okay, next clip. This is going to be a really good job by the back judge. Now, this might look like a real vanilla play. Nothing real special happens, but that's exactly the point. You've got a bunch of players, a bunch of opponents that are in close proximity to each other. We have talked about the fact that too many of our back judges want to rush the stage, want to run in there and get the ball and hurry the ball into the hash mark to the umpire. This back judge does a really nice job. You can see he's looking, he stops, he has wide vision, and is prepared to respond if we have some sort of a problem between opponents, that he's prepared to deal with it. Nice job by the back judge. Certainly something we'd like to see all of our back judges do, and that is to be very intentional in terms of finishing plays. All right, next clip. This is going to look at, and it certainly has the potential to be a targeting action. This runner is going to come out, and you can see this player comes over and is going to finish the tackle. And clearly the tackle is high. But when we analyze this, while he exposes the crown, the helmet goes past the helmet of the runner, and all of the contact is at the shoulder or below. So this is an act that we want to recognize as being a tough, high hit, but a legal act by this tackler. Now, if the head position is moved to his right, closer to the center of the field, and we get helmet to helmet contact, or he spears this runner with the top of his helmet, whether it be in the chest, the shoulder, wherever it might happen to be, all right, now we have a horse of a different color. But in this particular case, this is just a good, tough, clean hit. So let's say we get a flag from our back judge. Or conversely, we get a flag from our line judge. And someone else has an alternative view to it. We need to bring that information in and potentially pick up a flag, which is good crew communication. And then we would simply have the referee announce that there's no foul for targeting, that the hit is deemed to be legal, second down or whatever down is appropriate, and then mark the ball ready for play, and we put it back into action. All right, next clip. We talk all the time in these meetings about never assuming. So what we can't do, this team has run the ball probably 95% of the time throughout this entire game. So if everyone on the field is thinking, well, here we go, this is going to be another running play like the defense does, we're not ready for this. And that's a mistake on our part. We need to make sure that we stay in our processes, our pre-snap routine, so that we know who our keys are, our initial responsibilities, so that we can perform that act, whether they block, go out for a pass, or whatever it is that they do. Good reminder for all of us. All right, let's transition down to the Kalamazoo Association. We have a few plays here from some other really hotly contested games that took place. This first one is going to be a decision that the back judge is going to have to make in terms of whether to defend the goal line or the end line. You can see here in this particular case that the back judge correctly reads that this pass is not going to threaten the goal line, but is going to be into the end zone and therefore is on the move, so that if this ball is batted, muffed, or otherwise, that he's going to be back there to defend and protect the end line, which in this particular case it did not. So good decision by the back judge, lets the play finish, and then moves to retrieve the ball so that we can put it back into play. All right, next clip. We talk regularly about transition blocking, whether it's in 5 or 7 person. In 5, it becomes more important. So the back judge would be looking at that block that's pretty much in the middle of the field initially. So if we'll take that back, Gregor, this block that happens right there belongs to the back judge. The short wing is going to be looking at the runner and might get a look at that action, but we're not going to rely on that. The back judge is going to own that first block. All right, now when the runner clears that engagement, when we have determined that the players are free of foul, then what the back judge needs to do is to transition to the outside where we have opponents at approximately the 25-yard line. We're not interested. We need to know where the ball is clearly, but that's not going to be the focus, the primary focus of our attention. Our attention is going to be on that next block. But we need to make sure that we don't leave that initial block too quickly. And furthermore, if we don't get to the second block soon enough, we don't want to guess in terms of whether that's a foul or not. Because on a secondary level, we're also going to have the short wing that is going to be looking at that block that occurred at about the 25-yard line. So once again, simply because if you're used to working 7 person, don't feel like that you've got to totally make up for the fact that we don't have those deep wings. If you don't have enough information, just simply pass. We're better for us to miss a foul than it is for us to throw a flag on something that when we look at the video, we go, oh, I thought that was a hold, or I thought that was a side block, or whatever the case may be. All right, next clip. This also is going to involve a catch, no catch, but the part that I want us to focus on is the crew communication that takes place here. You can see that the umpire right away has spun after the ball has crossed, and now he's looking at the general direction of where the ball is coming. The short wing has transitioned to this area and is now looking at the catch, no catch situation, as would the short wing at the top of the screen and the back judge. Good crew communication here to get this play right and complete. Next clip. All right, this is going to be a coordination situation between the short wing and the back judge. It's going to be a pass that's going to go into the end zone. Now, the short wing is stationary at the 15-yard line. Better for the short wing to remain stationary to get a good look at that sideline than for him to go charging down the sideline and have to make this decision on the run. Now, in this particular case, it's pretty clear that the catch is made in bounds, but if this challenged the sideline, much better for him to be right where he is and make that determination of being in bounds or out of bounds. Now, in this particular case, the back judge is starting on the end line. So the short wing is going to have to make a determination of not only inbounds or out of bounds, but if inbounds, he's also going to need to make a determination whether the goal line has been penetrated by the catch when the catch is completed. Unusual play, but one that we have to be prepared to deal with. Next clip. All right, now notice the formation that we're going to get here. We've got trips to the bottom of the screen. If you are the short wing at the top of the screen, this is an automatic fade alert for you. You need to know by the coverage of the crew that the back judge is going to be looking at the two receivers that are inside. In fact, actually all three, because none are being pressed. His attention initially is going to be to the bottom of the screen. So when this receiver releases and begins to run a fade, if that defensive back has lost his leverage and recognizes that potentially this is going to be a touchdown, he may latch onto this receiver. He may try to do something to prevent that pass from going to the wide receiver. The short wing at the top of the screen has to initially, for sure, make sure that these players are free of foul. The ball goes airborne pretty quickly, and then the back judge has to transition from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. But he's not going to see what happens at the beginning of the route. And that's why, in this case, this was first half. So this is the H by MHSAA mechanics that has to see this route initially in terms of its legality. A good one to talk about and remind everyone how we're going to handle that. All right, next clip. We've been talking all year about the importance of read and react, that we need to recognize when potentially a runner is going to break. And right about now, if we haven't already made a commitment, if we don't have our feet moving, our chances of getting to the goal line are greatly diminished. So we have to have the awareness, we have to have the ability to read this for what it is. And backpedaling is not going to get us to the goal line when we're at the minus 38-yard line. You're just not going to be able to backpedal quickly enough to be able to cover this play correctly at the goal line. You're going to have to turn and make a commitment to your cushion and probably be at full speed pretty quickly with your shoulders square to the sideline. Next clip. This is going to be another crew communication situation. This is late in the game. And the offense has to score. We get a pass right up the middle that is completed, somewhere around the plus 45. The back judge stops the clock, moves forward, and you can, if you look closely, you will see that he has keyed the mic and is now communicating with his umpire in terms of where the spot belongs. You can see the umpire moving up, and he retrieves the ball and is in position now to spot the ball. In the meantime, the back judge is backpedaling, moving out of there so that he is going to be in position for the next snap because we know Team A is going to want to go quickly. We've stopped the game clock because they made the line to gain, but they are rushing to the line and will want to go quickly because time is of the essence. So we get it communicated where we need to put the ball correctly, and the back judge is on his way to his position to be able to assume. He transitions so that he can check the formation as the players are coming up. This is really well done from a communication standpoint, but also a preparation for the next play so that we are not in scramble mode when Team A snaps this ball. Really well done by the back judge all the way around. All right, the final play of the night, the final play of our playoff preparation, the final play of our whole series that began back in late July, early August, is a play that's going to decide the winner and the loser of this game. Team A has just scored, and you can see the scoreboard at the lower left-hand corner. The defense, Team A, the home team, is ahead 49-48. There's no time left on the clock. Team A has elected to go for two. So this game is going to end one way or the other on this particular play. This is the type of play that we live for. This is the type of play that we train for when we're putting the grunt work in the summer, when we're preparing during the week for various games, all of our crew meetings, all those things that we do to be the very best that we can be, hopefully the best team on the field. This is the type of play that we should covet. Now, if you look at the formation, we have a bunch formation at the, would be to the right of Team A's formation. So we know time, score, and situation that this is an automatic pass, offensive pass interference situation. So everyone on the field needs to have that in mind. The officials that are most involved in this will be the wing at the top of, or to the right of the screen, as well as the back judge. So we've got a lot of players that we have to watch, but clearly they're going to try to do something that will confuse the defense. So we're going to let it run full speed, and then we'll break this play down. You have a defender that goes down. So right away you're thinking, uh-oh, how did that happen? How did that defender go down? We need to know that. Now, in this particular case, the receivers cross to the inside, but they initiate no contact with the defensive players. The player that comes out that does a little bit of a button hook is turning around and is facing the quarterback and is a potential receiver. There's no intent there to knock somebody off the spot. When he turns to the outside, for whatever reason, number five's feet get tangled up with the receiver and he goes down. The receiver then makes the catch for the 2-point conversion. Let's say that both players go down here. Let's say that not only does the defensive player, number five, but also the receiver, I believe, number one, let's say they both go down. All right. Again, that's something that we prepare for. We talk about during the summer that feet entanglement is not a foul. So if they both go down and this pass lands incomplete, it's just a tough break, but it's an incomplete pass and the game is over and the defense wins 49-48. But we've got to be prepared. We've got to want these kinds of plays to come to us so that we will be involved in making this decision. So kudos to this crew. They worked a great game. And it was a great game to work. So all the way around, both teams played well. Both teams certainly would have represented their school and and the playoffs very, very well by moving forward. But obviously, you can only have one winner. Okay, Gregor, you can stop the video. A few concluding comments. As previously mentioned, you're one of a very few that are still working. So congratulations to you. Make sure that you continue with your preparation. We are creatures of habit. Let's make sure that everything that we've been doing all year that's worked for us so well, we continue to do, including our communication with other people on our crew. That is just essential so that when we get to the site, we're prepared because we've scouted the opponents. We've considered those things that we need to improve upon from the previous week, and we're ready to roll and give it our very best effort. Have no regrets when your game is over Friday night or Saturday, as the case may be. So in conclusion, um, I have some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank Gregor Langman, who has been with us for a number of years and makes this happen. He makes all of us look really, really good. Thank you to Gregor. I'd also like to thank people that have tuned in all year long, whether it be live or the recorded version. And a special thank you to people that have submitted clips during the year. That really helps out a lot. It gives me a good feeling for what's going on out in the field, so to speak, and the ability to talk with you about various plays has also been very, very helpful. Now, one final announcement. The training for officials that are advancing to the semis and the finals will take place Sunday in East Lansing. If you've had the good fortune to be involved in a semi or a final, you're familiar with the format. If you haven't, it's something hopefully in the near future you'll have an experience to take on with your officiating career. In previous years, I'm involved in that training, and in previous years, we've elected to have a supplemental Zoom session on Monday or Tuesday after that Sunday meeting if we don't get to all of the things and answer all of the questions that people have about seven-person mechanics. If we have an additional supplemental Zoom session, everyone on our distribution list will receive an invitation to audit that process, give you a chance to learn about the kinds of things that we talk about in preparation for a semi or a final, and particularly as it relates to seven-person mechanics. So again, happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interact with you and play a small part in your development on and off the field. So with that, God bless. Have a great game this week and stay healthy.